Hey up everyone, and welcome back to another video. Thought I'd get another one squeezed in for this month, and in this one I'm going to be painting a little Border Collie 8x6 size, and it's the first painting that I've done of this size for quite a few years actually. It's not very often at all that people order paintings in this size. I get tons of charcoal drawing orders at this size because it's quite cheap for people, and also it's more convenient for when people lack wall space and what have you, because it's easier to fit them like on a mantelpiece or on top of a sideboard or something like that. But when it comes to paintings, it's very rare that I get this size ordered. It's usually A4 and A3 and sometimes A2, but very rarely this size. I have also done a charcoal drawing of this same dog, and I actually worked from the same photograph as well. The clients wanted a drawing done of it, and then when I'd done the drawing they decided they also wanted a painting of it. So yeah, I've had to do this photograph twice which I don't generally enjoy doing, but there were a big gap in between because my painting waiting list is quite long, so there were quite a few months to wait before they got to that. And the drawing were actually A3 size, I think it were definitely bigger than this. It might have been A3 size, but obviously because it were a lot cheaper they were able to get a larger size. When they ordered a painting version they were only really able to afford a small size. I find that working at this size is a lot harder because getting the tiny little details and what have you with brushes, it's not so easy. I find that the bigger you work, the easier it is to get the details and what have you to make things look realistic. You see a lot of these really realistic big paintings on internet and what have you. When you get up really close, they look like every other painting where you can see all these strokes and everything, but then when you zoom out, they look really hyper realistic because obviously all them details just blend together and just make them look like almost like a photograph. But when you're working really small like this, it's a lot more difficult to be able to pull that off, because a lot of the details on the subject are just too small for your brush to really be able to accurately depict them very well with paint. You might be able to do it with, say, like a graphite pencil with a really fine point, but it's really difficult to do it with a brush and paint. You probably also just noticed that it suddenly went a lot lighter and the dog looked a bit cloudy there, and that's because I went over background again with airbrush because I decided that the background were just a little bit too dark. Now it's very rare that this has happened. I don't like going back in with airbrush once I've started actually painting subject, but in this occasion I felt I really needed to, and because I'd not started doing any real details I just decided to do it anyway, and then I've just gone back over it with all blacks and what have you, because obviously edges at dog were affected by the airbrush and everything, so it didn't hide it completely, so I was just able to go back over it again. So anyway, with Christmas coming up and all my Christmas orders being in full swing, I'm really busy working on them, so I'm not really going to be able to do anything like tutorials and what have you before New Year. I've got a couple of goat drawings coming up and also a couple of cat paintings, which is going to make a little bit of a difference, you know, to just dogs all the time. One of the goat drawings is going to be in the tonal style, and then I've got another goat drawing that I decided to record some of, which is going to be the white charcoal on black paper style. So I'm going to have a couple of different varieties of them to post up at some point. And if there's any parts of this painting that I'm doing now that you want a tutorial on, just let me know in comments and I'll see about doing that as well. And as per usual, if you're curious about any of my supplies that I'm using, I have got them all listed in description as well with links to Amazon. You can see now that I'm working on the final detailed layer, and there's lots of detail there in mouth now, lots of little bubbles and what have you around teeth, and you'll also notice that she is missing one of her lower incisor teeth as well. I remember I had a Border Collie that looked very similar to this one years ago, and she also had one of her lower incisors missing, just like this dog as well. She were a black and white one, same as this, with ears that, you know, stood straight up like this one. And also had very similar face markings, not really much of a blaze going up her face, just a little bit of a thin stripe that only went so far up, pretty much like this one. I lost her in 2008, and it seems like such a long time ago now, and it were just in the weeks after I lost her that I got Sleet, who I've still got now, and she just turned 16 other day. And then I've got Ren, who's just 3 months behind us. She'll be 16 at end of February if she gets there. I think this get to a certain age and you just got to take every day as it comes and be grateful that you've still got them, especially when they get to this kind of age. I think that's the main downside to having dogs, is that they just don't live long enough. I mean, we'd all just love for them to live longer than what they do. It just don't seem like you've had them 2 minutes before, you know, they're getting ready for passing away. And obviously my job as a pet portrait artist involves drawing and painting a lot of tributes to pets that have passed away, and working with owners which are basically grieving for them pets. So the fact that I've been through it myself, and I'm going to be going through it again myself, it does help me to relate to people in that sense. You'll notice in the black fur, especially on top of her head, that there's quite a few different colours going on, namely different shades of blue, but also some pinky tones as well. I find this to be quite common on black fur, and it's important when you're painting black fur that you don't just paint it black and with bits of grey in. It's important that it has some different colours going on, because black does reflect light really easily, and light tends to be in different shades and colours, so it does make it look a lot more realistic and true to life when you add plenty of colours into it. I guess this is why some people like to mix black using other colours as opposed to using actual black, whereas I just use black and then I add other colours to it as well, which does a perfectly good enough job for me. Same goes for white fur as well. I find it often has like ochre tones and what have you to it, like slight yellow ochre tones, as you can see in this particular one. And if it's like a sunshiny conditions and you've got some shadows, you often get blue tones in it as well, which I'm doing a lot in a painting at the moment of a full litter of Border Collie puppies. So you'll see that at some point in future. So anyway, I'm coming to the end of this video and I hope you've enjoyed it. Just a little shorter one to slot in whilst I'm so busy. I might manage to get another one in next month at some point. I'll do my best to anyway. But for now, I'll just leave you with a few shots from this completed painting, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!